Welcome to the Hermitess Podcast with Andrea Cox, the only plant-based astrology podcast focusing on Hermetic principles, cellular detoxification, and mystery teachings. Andrea's interviews include her celebrity clients, NBA ball players, musical composers, detoxification specialists, and world-renowned healers just like Andrea. Andrea is a model-turned-celebrity detox specialist, intuitive healer, and holistic wellness and life coach. You will find only authentic people interviewed on this podcast. Real recognizes real. Andrea prides herself on only inviting those who are uniquely creative.
Hey there, folks. Andrea Cox here, and welcome to the Hermitess Podcast. Today we have Pollyanna Blanco. Pollyanna Blanco is called to serve as a sacred self-care coach, creative midwife, chakra dance facilitator, quantum energy healer, and intuitive transformational teacher, international bestselling author. In her energy healing practice, she champions the sacred self, care of busy light workers, awakening to their greater vision and mission so they can sustain the energy to birth their dreams and embody their light work. As a creative midwife, she weaves energy healing, dance, movement therapy, and intuitive guidance into a divinely inspired creative process that empowers creative souls to reconnect with their true selves, remember their expanded selves, and emerge transformed through their experiences and these shifting times, inspired and ready to share their sacred soul gifts with the world. So, Pollyanna, where are you tuning in from? Where are you located at?
I'm in Toronto, Ontario, Canada.
And you just came back from Mexico, right?
That's right. Cozumel, Mexico has been my sweet spot on Mother Earth now for the past 20 years.
Oh, I love that. So why don't you live there?
Well, the plan is I will one day. The part of it is I've been following the breadcrumbs, and I've been a teacher here now. I'm in my 26th year of teaching visual arts in the public school system. And so the plan is to do early retirement there as I'm building my business in tandem. And it's been emerging and evolving in terms of how I can reach more people and share what I've been learning along the way to support them in really championing their sacred self-care. Because I know what it's like when we're passionate about what we are feeling called to create and how we're feeling called to serve, because that has been my own journey along the way as I've been on this spiritual awakening journey now for 20 years now too. And so this is where it's all this is the bucket list, the wish list is to shift more and more to being there. And I do spend a lot of time there, but to make it more of a permanent home.
So my dogs love Pollyanna, as you can hear by the background. They're making all kinds of noise. They love Pollyanna. So, okay, as a midwife, that's when people are pregnant. You assist them with pregnancy, and what exactly do you assist with? How do you help them? I'm sure it's not in a hospital, and it's no drugs, no anything. How do you assist them through that process?
Well, I'm so glad you asked, because I want to qualify something here. When I call myself a creative midwife, it's not so much about birthing a baby, although it could be sacred self-care for birthing a baby. When I felt divinely guided to use that terminology to describe what I do, the focus was on this idea that when we're birthing a baby, we often look for support, and we know we need to take the very best care of ourselves and the baby, growing inside of us. And it's no different when we're following a passion project or leading from our light. It's so important to have that sacred self-care along the way, because it's so easy to burn the candle at both ends and start to feel, that it's easier to throw in the towel than to actually keep, emerging and evolving through the process that we're feeling guided to follow. And so I just want to qualify that it could be as well, because sacred self-care is so important, especially in these rapidly shifting times. It's so easy in, our go, frantic go culture to push ourselves to the bottom of our to-do list and to especially for women too, especially women who get a lot of, fulfillment from serving others. And I was just reading recently too, how when men and again, this is a generalization, but that men and women, the way they experience stress in terms of fight or flight, and this was by a trauma expert, men tend to go into the fight, and I know there are people who are other gendered, and so it's a spectrum, but these are sort of the two poles, if you will, that men go into fight mode, and that women go into that giving mode. And I'd like to say even over giving at expense to themselves. So
some women, not all. Yeah.
Not all for sure. But it can become, but that's sort of, I feel like for all of us along the way, something that we may stumble along and through as we're emerging through the process. I know I definitely did. And so that's something that, is one of the ways that we can expand our sense of who we are beyond, all the density drama.
So I just want to make it clear, because my question was, so you're not a midwife in the birthing process, more birthing of creations,
exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Got it. So what led you on your healing journey? Because you're a teacher, right?
That's right. Well, like I said, it started well over 20 years ago. It started with, at the time I was married, and my father-in-law at the time was diagnosed with bone cancer 3 months after I was married. And I started reading about life after death. I just naturally gravitated towards that in a metaphysical bookstore close to where I lived. Mm-hmm. And then I just started to follow the breadcrumbs. Like I would have I'd read something that would raise another question in my mind. And then all of a sudden I had books literally fall off the shelf, as other people have experienced too in their own awakening journey, and it would have the answer inside. So I started getting very curious. I started questioning a lot of things. It was during my Saturn return phase in my life too. And
you were young. Saturn return, you were in your late 20s.
That's right. Because I got married quite young in my first marriage. Married my best friend, my first love. And then actually, no, my life has taken many plot twists and turns. That first marriage ended very amicably. We were just very different people, and we started to move in different directions. And that's where I started recognizing it was very difficult, because I had my programming about who I thought I was supposed to be, like the checklist of all the things that I thought were, I had the house, I had the car, I was married, he was a teacher too, and great supportive in-laws. It was just something inside of me was birthing that I didn't even realize at the time. And now I've come to realize it as a sort of artist soul inside of me. And we were on two very different tracks. Mm-hmm. And it was very difficult and painful to face at the time that I needed to honor that. And that was the beginning, the birthing of my authentic self, of being true to myself and stepping outside of, all the expectations and this is, who I thought I was supposed to be. And these were all like I said, the check boxes. And so then that's when I just started opening more and more to my spiritual self. And
because you're a teacher, right? You are a teacher, you were saying?
Yeah, I'm a teacher. And along the way, I've also been a dancer. I'm an author. I grew up in a very creative family. My mother is a poet and a writer and an editor. My father was a teacher, but he's also a culinary teacher, a chef, gardener. And so my parents were both traditional and not very traditional at the same time. They were basically very creative people. And they always encouraged me to be creative, my brother and I to be creative. And so as I moved through life following the breadcrumbs, it was this call to begin to awaken to being more than just the sort of 3D version of myself. I started to explore Reiki. A friend of mine took me for a Reiki session. I had a really profound experience on the Reiki table where, I don't know if you want me to go into it, but that was,
No. We've got quite a few questions. So
okay.
So I love that. So you had excuse me, Mushy, you'll have to edit this out. Sorry about that. Since we did pause there, since we only have every interview is about 20 minutes.
Okay.
So, okay, Mushy, right here, you can add it back. So you had a profound experience was it a massage table or what were you saying just now? You had a profound, like an awakening?
On the Reiki table,
Wow.
with a vision. It was a violet light vision. And it was something that I can remember, but I can't relive. And oftentimes in our memories, we can almost like re-experience the memory. But this was of such a high vibrational nature that it really activated and awakened something in me. And there was a very powerful message that love can move mountains. And that has been the trajectory that has carried me through my whole journey. It's been the mantra that I come back to, especially in moments where I did face a lot of challenges on my journey. So I went on to study at the Transformational Arts College. I continued following my passion for dance. My first husband was not a dancer, and that didn't go so well. And I just realized it brought me alive, and I started competing nationally and internationally in pro-am dance sport. My book was about, the creative process and not throwing in the towel too soon. And I used dance as a metaphor for it. And so I just, it was this whole process that led to more and more experiences. I mean, there's so much I could say about it, but I'll just leave it at that for now.
Yeah, wow. So I'm trying to hone in on, and those of you who are tuning in, we've had quite the trying morning, and I realized that I didn't have an inclination that I had this interview going on. And I got a notification a few hours ago, and I was like, oh, okay, my whole day is turned around, but I really want to have her on because we've had quite the technical and the scheduling problems. And I think are we in retrograde? It feels like it. We're probably in retrograde right now. Yeah, that explains a lot. And the reason I wanted to have Pollyanna on is I came across Pollyanna on Facebook, and I was attracted to your light. And I can tell that you're authentic. And so I want to hone in on exactly what you do, not necessarily really, I love the violet flame and how we get there, but exactly how you help others. So I was attracted to your light. I am attracted to your light, your essence of gentleness, of divine feminine energy, of just that quintessential beauty that makes women, exterior and interior. I feel like your heart really shines through and there's authenticity there. And so, that has a lot to do with placements. Are you a Leo or Cancer?
I'm actually technically a Taurus.
Are you a Taurus? Oh, wow. So, Empress energy, Taurus is the Empress, so divine feminine energy. So I was attracted to Pollyanna's light because I was having some online turmoil, still am, obviously. And so I actually reached out to you to help me. And I don't reach out to many people for help. I don't ever reach out to people for help. And I reached out to you because I thought, wow, if she can get me through this period of going through all these mass reports online and things, I think I can ascend through this. And what you did the day we worked together is she took me through something that was so peace-giving. And it's up to her if she wants to share it here or not. I think it's probably a paid service that you offer. But it not only calmed me, it calmed my dogs. And it came right before a lot of turmoil. So I want to know exactly how you help your clients. Like, you don't have to give away secrets, but who is your ideal client? Who comes to you?
My ideal client is someone who is feeling depleted energetically, like they're feeling drained and maybe a bit low energy from all the mosh pit experiences, Andrea. Because I just have so much compassion for it because I've been there myself and I've had to figure it out piecemeal and through, the school of hard knocks, as they say. And really to help them, first of all, I think the first thing is to calm down. That's why I have this online course, Creating Calm in a Crazy World, because it's resetting that nervous system reactive response to whatever we feel is coming at us, and how it kind of puts us into nervous system dysregulation. And really, it's this pain loop we can get so easily stuck in, especially when we're light workers, especially when we're leading from our light and we can't even imagine or fathom. Like when you shared some of the things that you've been going through, I didn't even know such a thing existed. I mean, I try not to be naive. I mean, I don't think of myself anymore at this point in my life as naive, but it's so I like to help people really reset to calm. And
you're already doing that. I mean, it just happened right before we logged on. I was trying to go live and all of a sudden there's a major distortion on my, Facebook screen. And I'm dealing with a high level hacker and just your voice alone. So when someone has that kind of ambiance, it's something having a lot of Scorpio and being on the cusp of Aries, a Pisces on the cusp of Aries, that I want to adopt, because there's certain people that don't have any control over their emotions and they do things behind the scenes to harm others, like that's being done to me. Or in my instance, will take it, be really calm with it, and then all of a sudden snap. And I think people who are not kind get a rise out of that snap, and they like it, and they like to see it, and they kind of get off on it. And so I think this is just how I see Pollyanna. This isn't exactly, she has many gifts, but I'm going to tell you where I saw Pollyanna leading me and how she helps me. Pollyanna is kind of a reminder to me to stay centered, even when I'm being messed with online, because what they want is quintessentially the way I've acted in the past 24 hours, because simply I hit a brick wall and I can't take it anymore. And that's what they want. So you, in a sense, help bring people a peace and calm. And you guys don't have to be going through hackings and things like that like me. You could be going through just having a lot of clients or not having enough clients or just being stressed out in what you do. So what is one thing that you do feel comfortable sharing? Because I feel like you are a true healer, like a true light worker. There's a lot of them out there, but your essence comes through in your voice and who you are. And what do you recommend?
Thank you. Well, definitely moving the body, because we've been so programmed to figure so much out in our heads. And especially when we've gone through difficult times that are traumatic, and trauma is a spectrum, right? Emotionally traumatic or physically traumatic. It's one thing. I mean, it's good to have awareness of what's going on through talking about it and becoming aware of it. And at the same time, what can happen is that when you talked about that example of being calm, and then all of a sudden snapping and exploding, and then that feeding the frenzy of the energy out there, is that when we are able to move our energy through a sacred embodiment practice, like I'm a chakra dance facilitator, I've been at that for close to 10 years now, then it really helps people to literally move out of the overthinking and back into feeling centered and grounded in the body. Because with talking, we're just only like what happens is people try to change the behavior because of the awareness, which is a start, but it doesn't mean it's healed the actual dysregulation inside with the nervous system. And so I love chakra dance because it's a gentle movement healing practice. That's one of the ways I work. I also work with guided meditations, and that's what I use with you, Andrea. Shielding spiritual.
You're gonna have to use when we cut off. Yeah. Again, no, I'm just kidding. Yeah.
Spiritual hygiene. I teach a lot of spiritual hygiene as well too. And I remember that was something you had asked me to speak about. I don't know if you'd like me to speak about that right now. I would love
to speak about spiritual hygiene, because I feel that one of the biggest things I've done for my spiritual hygiene is cut out people that are completely toxic. And one of my biggest problems as a light worker is those same people trying to get in, and now that they're at a distance, literally hacking in. So it's hard to keep your hygiene clean when you've got that type of interference. So what would you suggest for someone that's got really high level interference? And then what would you do for someone that just is dealing with everyday, working with clients a lot, things like that?
I would go back to, honestly, the sacred embodiment practice, the chakra dance, because you see, there's this thing, I like to call it emotional Velcro, right? When these, it's not about, and again, it's not about self-blame, and it's not about, judging ourselves or being unkind to ourselves, because when we go through difficult experiences, it's really unnerving. At the same time, we can do the spiritual hygiene, like the shielding and the guided meditations, but we really want complete transformation and transmutation of anything that would be, Velcro for people who have less than. So, for example, every time someone's going through an experience that's upsetting again, the importance is to clear that emotional energy, to be able to be with it without judgment and with compassion in our heart, by setting that intention. And then what I love, I've just got to say a few words about chakra dance, because what it's allowed me to do when I've found myself in moments like that is to, it's basically like a moving meditation where you're dancing with your eyes closed. So you're taking an inner journey, and then it's based on Jungian psychology and dance movement therapy. So it's like a gradual bubbling up to the surface of the emotions that are stored literally in our body. So when something upsetting happens, we tend to want to release the energy, and oftentimes we release the energy by lashing out, but then that attracts more of the same to us. If you know what I'm saying, it kind of becomes this pain loop. Whereas if we can get to
or sometimes it does, or sometimes you're just dealing with someone who is unhinged, unstable.
Yeah. And that's where the best thing, like you said, is to remove yourself from the situation. Because I've been in a situation like that too, where you just have to.
But online, you really can't.
It's very difficult.
Yeah,
it's very difficult.
It's very difficult. Yeah. Yeah.
So again, I know it's not something that it's not a quick fix. I mean, I've got to be genuine about that. But I know I went through a very difficult time at one point in my personal life with someone who was unhinged, and living in the same house with me. And I was constantly needing to clear energy daily. And it was very traumatic. And I still had to function and go to work every day. And I was writing my book, and I was, building my practice. And it was a lot to deal with. And at one point, like you said, I mean, at least I could physically leave the house and step outside of that. And what I know from that experience that was true for me, at least, that I can speak to, is that there were layers of the onion that needed to be peeled off, even when I had removed myself from that situation. So the caveat being that the challenge is when we're in an online environment where we can sort of step away, and at the same time, not fully step away, especially if we're building our business online, like so many of us are, myself included. The emotional work becomes even more important, because we're human in the sense that when someone does something that's outrageous, it can be very triggering. How can it not be, right? And so the key is to really show up for ourselves, and it's just energy, right? I mean, it's not the energy we want to invite into our lives or be surrounded by. But it impacts us where we wouldn't feel upset. So it's having a way to move it through. Now, there are other practices, like one I like, and I think I may have shared this one with you, and I can share this with everyone right now because I want them to have something to take away, is anytime I've been online is to set the intention to call back my energy with love from whatever I've been on, and any energy that's come to me, send it back with love. The other thing is shielding ourselves before we speak. I do this before I go into the classroom, even, and if I forget to, I notice and feel the difference. Another one is to activate our light body every day, because it's almost like the higher we can start our day with, like our frequency, the less visible, if you think about the light spectrum in terms of what is visible and what isn't, there's nothing to hook into, right? If you are...
One, because we actually only have like a few minutes and I want people to get... How would one call back their light body?
It's very simple. That's the good news. Literally, what you do is, I would just place your hands on your heart. You can do this right now. And just take a few deep breaths in and out. And on the inhale, I like to acknowledge my connection to the divine. So I'm not just little me trying to deal with this. And on the exhalation, I like to intend that I am surrendering to the support of the divine, which is my expanded self. And then as I'm feeling this connection to my expanded self, I just simply acknowledge that I am calling back any and all energy that I connected with, anyone who I connected with online or around me, calling my own energy back into myself with love, gently back into my heart. And at the same time, anyone's energy that I interacted with, it could be the most lovely energy in the world. It could be something really upsetting, but I just set the intention to send that energy with love back to the person that, or just in general, even just sending the energy back, and just sort of, it's like a reset inside of myself so that I can feel into and notice my own sort of soul song, my own set point within me, what it feels like to be in my own energy. And that's something I find very helpful.
I can't think of anyone on this day with like literally minutes before having something happen that I would have rather interviewed, because no one else has a greater understanding of energy than you, and how, I think a lot of people don't know when they send negative energy out, how it's a boomerang and it affects their health and it affects their appearance and it affects but there are some times when you're not sending the negative energy out where you just get pummeled because you have a lot of light to give. And you were very good at explaining that to me.
Thank you, Andrea.
And yeah, you're just amazing. So I wanted to ask you one last question. What is one quick tip you could give people to center themselves when they're in the middle of turmoil?
Place their hands on their heart.
What we just went through?
Yes.
Okay.
And also, it's really important to call in the divine and just affirm that I am online with the divine. Feel the warmth of your hands on your heart and the warmth of your heart on your hands. And if you need to, I would say, I know it's helped me many times, is just to call in the platinum light. This is even more than the gold light or even pink. You can play with different colors of light, but I'd say right now for a lot of light workers, the platinum light is where it's at. And
Okay.
just intend that it's like a tube of light around you, and give thanks, and then just affirm I'm safe and all is well.
I'm safe and all is well. Thank you. And how can people hire you for a session to see if they want to work with you? Because I know I want to work with you on coaching, And I don't hire coaches, folks. Those of you who are tuning in, I am a coach, but sometimes you need people to get you through situations. How can people find you?
Thank you for asking. Yes, you can reach out to me at info@pollyannablanco.com. Also, you can go to my website, www.pollyannablanco.com, and there's information there, and you can book a soul call with me. It's a free 30-minute miracle map session, so we can help you get to the heart of what's been holding you back and help you get from where you are to where you want to be.
And we'll link that below. We'll link all of that below. And Pollyanna, you're also an animal communicator. I just want to say that, right?
It's really interesting. I'm starting to sense that I am, because I've had experiences like I shared with you when I've been doing Reiki sessions with people who have pets on multiple times, right? And I've had a lot of pets myself over the years, and definitely feel a very, very strong connection to animals.
He hears you. Every time I work with Pollyanna, my dog Maverick hears her voice and connects. So Pollyanna, thank you. Will you promise us something? Will you come back for a second interview? Because I feel like this is just like a little introduction. I definitely want to share this on Andrea Cox TV on YouTube, because I feel like just people, it's visually for me, it's Pollyanna has like this aura of gold around her, that in blue, that is just, it's really captivating. And I got to tell you, worst time in my life. And I was like, who is this lady? Who's this lady that keeps popping up on my feed? Like, I love her energy and her frequency. And I think we seek what we feel we lack. And right now, when I'm going through some turmoil, I feel like I seek that calmness and that peace that you hold. So if you are a light worker, a wellness coach, someone who coaches others, and you are dealing with anything, whether it be a heavy workload or, online attacks or just a personal breakup, I definitely would highly, highly recommend Pollyanna. And so would Maverick, by the way. So would Maverick, my dog. We'll tune that out. Pollyanna, big hug. And just share with us the card you pulled real quick. What is it?
Oh, sure. It's a beautiful card. It's from the female archangels. It's the Archeia Purity. It's the Cleanse and Detoxify card. I felt guided to pull this before our interview.
Yay.
And I know you're a detox expert, and it's all about purification. And I feel it bodes really well for, the energies should start to feel a little bit lighter next week. That's what I'm feeling called to say. And just, there is a lightening up that's happening. The past week and a half has been really heavy for a lot of people. So just the key is be willing to look where you may have not felt you had time to look before, wanted to look before, and trust it's just energy and let it go.
Thank you.
Create space for something better to come in.
I love you. Thank you. I'm going to try this live once again. Thank you so much. We love you, Pollyanna. Okay.
Love you too. Thank you so much for having me here.
Thanks so much for listening. If you'd like to check out Andrea Cox's most recent 4th book, Eat Right for Your Zodiac, it's the first book to ever combine astrology with plant-based eating. Andrea's Akashic record readings, holistic wellness coaching, and intuitive life coaching services are sought out by both celebrities and ordinary, everyday people like Andrea herself. If you'd like to connect with her, you can find her at AndreaCox.com, on YouTube at both Andrea Cox TV and the Detox Intuitive, on Facebook at Andrea Lee Cox, and on Instagram at Raw Chef Andrea.